Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all races, colors, and creeds, welcome back to the greatest show on earth, the Investigative Journal. I'm your host, Greg Anthony, and boy, let's have some fun today. Well, first of all, I'm on First Amendment Radio. Can't forget them. Let's have some fun today. You know, like I said yesterday, when you're talking about what's going on in the world and you understand how they operate, how these countries and politicians all work together under the Vatican-led New World Order, what a creepy organization. You can sit there and laugh about it. In fact, tonight I'm going to watch the Democratic debates and laugh my head off. When billionaire, what's this guy, Bloomberg, gets on stage and the media's going, it's a make-or-break situation for Mr. Bloomberg. Do you think he gives a shit? He's got $60 billion. He's already spent more than any presidential candidate in the history of America. And what do we got? The battle of the billionaires? Like I said, let's have some fun today. And what we're going to do is we're going to together write a mystery novel. Yeah, about the coronavirus. But before I do that, I got an email yesterday regarding Bloomberg and Trump. Yes, that's what it's going to be. The battle of the billionaires for President of the United States. And always remember, if you've got little kids in their crib right now crying and you're feeding them milk and you have no money to pay for food, just tell them, if you want, son, you can become a president of the United States if you have $1 billion and if you're selected by the occult and if you go to Skull and Bones meetings and if you end up at all of these crazy Vatican seances they have down in the catacombs, then you can become president, son. It's a great life. And guess what? You lie to the American people every day. What could be better? That's what's really going on. But anyway, I got an email about Trump and Bloomberg. And guess who? From my good friend Slats Grobnik. Yes, well, for those of you who don't know who Slats is, he is a good friend of mine I met many years ago in Chicago. And he's a freedom fighter. And he had one of the most brilliant ideas I ever heard. And I said, Slats, how did you come up with it? And he said, well, listen, I watched that Field of Dreams movie, where they built the baseball stadium in the middle of an Iowa cornfield. And I said, I'm not going to Iowa. I'm going to Kansas. And I'm building a replica of the Coliseum. And in that, I'm going to then have the gladiators fight. And the gladiators are going to be the New World Order people, like Obama, like Clinton, like Trump, like Bush, like all of these people that work for them, like President Xi in China, and all these people. We're going to get them as the gladiators, fight to the death, and then I'm going to fill up the Coliseum I'm building with hundreds of thousands of people. And I'm going to charge them a fair fee, $5 to get in. They pay. Boy, I can be rich and run for president then. So this is what Slats Grobnik told me. And so he wrote me an email today, and he said he's only half finished. He's always only half finished. But he's hidden away in this Kansas cornfield, and he's got a little area where they can fight. He's got to do auditions. So he's invited Trump and Bloomberg to fight it out. Yeah, that's the best way to do this. Mini Mike against Big Don, Orange Man. What a gladiator fight. That's the best way to figure this out. Now, I told Slats they already selected the president, but knowing Slats, he's going to try to get them. So I will see what I can do. I'll get in touch with some of my people, as they say, and we'll see if we can put the Trump, Orange Man, and Mini Mike together for a battle to the end for the presidency of the United States. Wow. Crazy, but true. He's building this cornfield. Go back to some of my old shows I did about Slats Grobnik. And you're going to see what an idea. He's always half finished, and he's been harassed and harassed. That's why it's taking him so long to build it. But anyway, I got to do an advertisement. Remember, I've been sponsored by the American military, and basically they like my idea about a senior citizen army. And so they ran an advertisement on my show regarding recruiting senior citizens because they no longer want to kill young people. They figure it's better just to kill old people. And they said it's pretty safe because all their battles now are done through robots and through just sitting there pressing buttons. So senior citizens are what qualify for this. All you have to do, I remember the ad, 1 push-up, 1 sit-up, and you got to run a mile within a day, I think. Okay, but I've got a new advertiser. Guess who it is? The Navy SEALs. They heard about it. Yes, the Navy SEALs want you, senior citizens. Yes, and I'll just do it because they gave me the script and they're paying a amount of money. Pretty soon I'll be able to do $1 million worth of Facebook ads like Mr. Bloomberg does every day. Where the hell does he get all this money? He's the 6th or 8th richest man in America. Who are the other ones? I think, Jeff Bezos for Amazon? What kind of idea is that? In the old days, all he does is he packages things and sends them to you. He's the richest man in America? Give me a break. But anyway, they want you, the Navy SEALs. If you're 55 years and older, especially if you're even 70, they're going to go up to 95 because they say they want you. And guess what? They're going to get rid of all their young Navy SEALs and stock up with all senior citizen Navy SEALs, and they want you. So contact the Navy SEALs at usnavy@gmail.com/senior citizens. And you're wondering how you as a senior citizen can become a Navy SEAL. Very simple. It's a simple test. All you got to do is be able to jump into a pool. They'll give you a lifesaver, they said, one of those rings, and you sit there for 30 minutes. And if you can keep your head above water, they want you. And then they said, if we do very tactical missions, we're going to give you one of those underwater scooters, so don't worry about it. We're going to train you. But most of all, our projects now are all done through computers. And so all you got to do is be computer savvy. We'll give you a computer course, and this is a 2-year term. It pays well, pays more than your Social Security, 3 times as much as your Social Security, and your boot camp is pretty simple. Just wade in water for 60 seconds, and you become a senior citizen Navy SEAL. Contact the U.S. Navy at usnavy@gmail.com. Okay, I'm rich. We'll see. The Army did not want to run an ad again with me because I said they were going to kill the senior citizens. So I guess they got mad. But the Navy SEALs, they said, Greg, we're not going to kill anybody. I said, okay, I'll run your ad. Okay, we got the Navy SEALs out of the way on the Greg Anthony show. Wow. You got to come here with a really different mindset. I'm so tired of angry people. You ever notice all these Democrats and Republicans, people they're always angry. They're angry at this, they're angry at that. Come on, let's get together. What's there to be angry about? They're going to control you no matter what. Have fun with it. I just teach you here what they're actually doing. And actually can have fun with it. Because this is the biggest political theater, the best show they've put on in years. They've been doing this sitcom since 1776. And boy, have they picked a president that's entertaining. He's much more entertaining than, the 5 presidents, I guess, that the Jesuits killed, 5 or 6, was it Zachary Taylor, Harrison? Buchanan, I think they tried to poison, but they killed 29 of his friends at a breakfast. So they killed 4 or 5 of those guys, Lincoln, Kennedy, you know the names. But they picked Trump, and let me tell you, he's too interesting to kill. And he's basically on their team anyway, from the point of view that if you really understand that the directors and producers of this great political theater are the Jesuits, Vatican, and all of their minions, they write the script. Yeah, they write the script. They pick the actors. There you go. There's your situation. So I thought today, in line with that, we would write a mystery novel. We could do a screenplay off of it. We could actually propose it to the Jesuits in the Vatican and see if they'd like it. And the reason I want to do this is because I think that I've been around all of these viruses. I don't know, this isn't my first rodeo with the killing virus that's going around the world, right? The killing virus that is going around and around and around. That's the supposed coronavirus, right? And I've been through the Ebola, I've been through, SARS, AIDS, and you have the monkey virus, all of these things that, always basically the mainstream comes out and says there's this new virus, but we're going to beat it. And then the internet goes wild with all these theories that they're doing all these different things. They're really spreading, they're trying to kill off humanity, and they do it biologically with all their testing. And that's what you hear. Well, this time on the coronavirus, when that cropped up, I said, oh, here we go again. And sure enough, but this is a little different, so I thought we'd write a really nice little spy mystery novel about it, and it can be adapted to a screenplay, a TV show, whatever. But, we can all get together on this. I'll start it off, and then if you have any ideas, please contact me at gregbeacon@gmail.com. Yeah. And my idea is this. Okay, listen. Let's talk about what we know first. We know for a a fantasy fact, I call them, Trump calls them but fake news. But anyway, here they go. Fox, CNN, all of them are saying it started in a little market in Wuhan because of somebody was bitten by bats or whatever, and this virus mutated, blah, 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 and all these people are dying in China now. Okay. Then, of course, we have, the first time I heard this, Tom Cotton, okay, he's a senator, a Republican senator, came out on public news and stated he's not sure it started. Nobody really knows how this started. Other people are saying this too, and it could be that it was started in a laboratory, a very high-tech biological laboratory, near the Wuhan market, and it escaped. But then he got criticized by the Chinese ambassador, who they put on the news, last Sunday news, and said, this is terrible. We didn't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And then so you've heard a number of experts, whether they be medical doctors or what have you, come on and say, the bottom line is we don't know what happened. So then I went on the internet, and of course, the same thing, everything. They're trying to kill people. They created this new virus, and they let it go, and now we're going to see how many people died. Okay? So I thought we'd write a mystery novel. Okay, let's start it off here. Okay, let's use as our main character a Chinese military intelligence officer. Now, let's make sure that he lives in Wuhan, that he's a he's got to speak English, so he got a doctorate from a leading university in a Western country. You can pick, we can figure that out. And for the good and welfare of the people of the world and the Chinese people and the citizens of Hong Kong, to protect them from evil in our story, he's going to tell you exactly what happened, right? And I put down some notes. The coronavirus outbreak is far worse than the media are telling you. Well, thank you. This is in our story. So we got the senior official at the top of the party, the Chinese party. Now, as a backdrop, we know this makes a lot of sense. It'll be a great mystery novel. The Chinese people have had some problem, right? Remember, the facts we hear, whether they're true or not, is Hong Kong. We've seen pictures of all the people in Hong Kong standing up and saying, we don't want to be with the Communist National Party. So that's a problem for China. Then they rounded up all these Islamic people, they say hundreds of thousands of them, and put them in internment camps like we did with the Japanese people back in World War II. And boy, FDR really was a jackass when he did this, and he did it for political reasons. There was no reason to put in, 100,000 Japanese Americans, many who fought in our military, into internment camps. And he gets away with it. That wasn't an abuse of power. He didn't get impeached. But Trump got impeached for a phone call. So they've got some really fun stories going on, don't they? We got to compete with that, see if we can get this purchased. But anyway, so we got this guy who's got a doctorate from a leading university, and he has information that'll blow your mind. It could overthrow the government. It's also relevant, we can say, to billions of people outside of China, all who are now in peril. We got to keep that suspense. We're all waiting to see if we're going to get it. Now, he cannot reveal his identity, okay, even in the stages of the first chapters of the book, because we want to build a suspense. At the end, we'll probably tell who he is, if he isn't killed first. We have to figure that out. And he says, we have to really respect the fact in the beginning of this novel that he can't tell his name because he has a wife, children. He's Chinese. He worked at the highest levels of the intelligence, the military. And boy, if they found out who he was, they'd kill him, right? But that doesn't go on in our government, so that's what, it's just a fantasy, right? Do you know who the first assassinated member of the modern government was? It was a guy named Forrestal. He was a defense secretary, and he was opposed to turning Israel into a state. And that's an interesting story. We've discussed it many times. I remember having the investigator who told you, who really researched this story. Only one person I ever met who researched the Forrestal assassination. They threw him out a window, in a hospital in Washington. But we got to keep this guy's identity quiet. And we now know this is called the 2019 N, small letter N, COV virus, also known as coronavirus, because it has crowns when you look at it through a microscope. Looks like a crown. Then how come all the kings and elites don't get it? They should get it, shouldn't they? Oh, I had another idea. This is how I love to write. You kind of sit there and you do it, and then your mind wanders. That's why, I became a journalist. I remember when I was young, I wanted to be a writer. And then I said, boy, I got to sit here all day. I like people too much. I can't sit here constantly writing things. I don't care how many books I sell. This is terrible. I was an only child for a long time, too, and I hated that. But anyway, so I figured, well, I'll be a journalist. I'll write half the day, go out and meet people half the day. It worked pretty well. And I could write a story every day, feel like I got something finished, and go on with my life. But anyway, that's an aside. So we got this. Oh, I was going to tell you about Trump. He's on a spree of pardoning everybody. I think he pardoned 7 people. Bogdanovich. What else? We got another guy, Bernie Kerik, former NYPD commissioner, etc. 7 people. Pardoning spree. And I have a better idea, Trump. Why don't you pardon? He can pardon anybody he wants. Pardon everybody that's in a prison. Everybody. Just get them all out of there. Open up all the prisons. Let them go. I don't care what you do with them. And then fill it up with all these criminals that are running around in Washington and all over the state houses. Fill them up. Fill the house. Then we'll have room for them. And we'll put the real criminals in jail. How's that? Okay. So now back to the coronavirus. See, that inspires me to write better. So we got this mystery novel going, all right, folks? Finally, you may have heard that the disease, that we're going to write this, is highly infectious. The official lethality rate is approximately, I don't know where I got that word from. I'm like Mark Twain. I really don't believe in, I say the best stories, don't let the facts stand in the way of a good story, and never let grammar stand in the way of a good story. So the official death rate is approximately 2%, but that's not going to be true, okay? Now, the story was that it came from an animal, most likely a bat, that was sold in a wild animal market. You've been told this over and over. Then you heard Tom Cotton say, well, we got to check out to see if it was a virus. So we got some real facts going here too, right? It's an influenza-like illness that can cause severe cases, cause pneumonia, respiratory failure, and death. But they say only 2% death rate, and it only affects older people. Oh my God. You know something? That's going to affect the senior citizen army here. So get healthy, seniors. I want you to make more than what the Social Security is doing. And basically, all you do is sit by a computer. It's all we do now anyway, right? Let me start this thing by saying we got to put in a paragraph like, the world does not operate the way you think it does. We got to let them know. Countries like China and the U.S. vie for global dominance. That completion is restricted to certain limited areas. And in most ways, the two countries are more interested in cooperation and work together. Like I said, all these companies, all these countries work together, and they can stop other competing countries from gaining more power. So everybody at the top levels, they also have a shared interest in keeping real power out of the hands of us, the ordinary citizens. We've got to make this clear in our novel, right? Or our sitcom or screenplay or whatever have you. To this end, we have to have many different mechanisms by which they control the overwhelming majority of their media outlets. Here we go. The Americans in particular have perfected the art of creating made-up divisions between the two main parties, which are designed to hide the fact that both serve the same masters. We got to tell them that, the Hegelian dialectic, right? And we can use this, use all the information we have on this show as a backdrop. They are far more technologically advanced than you can imagine. And this includes artificial intelligence, deciding any election in the world they want, like I said, creating biological and chemical agents that can manipulate and control the thinking patterns and behaviors of citizens to terrifying degrees, highly sophisticated manipulation techniques using hypnotic practices entirely unknown to the public, and other things that I will not get into now. You got to leave some suspense. So we got this going now. We got to let people know where we're at, right? Great nations really don't compete. They work together, just like the politicians on the Democrats and Republicans. And their principal goal is to shield the true workings of the world from the uninitiated public. Listen, here's the deal. Remember I said yesterday, William Casey, our CIA director, was quoted as saying in 1981, what was he quoted as saying, Greg? He was quoted as saying, when the American people believe all of our lies, then we will have done our job. Right. And he gets paid by the American people. Boy, we're getting screwed. So anyway, now we're building this story, right? We're giving you a backdrop on why, because it's a mystery novel, not true, of course, that this thing was actually not an influenza virus. We're going to get to that. We got to get to that. It's going to be some kind of strange chemical agent that's far more deadly. And how it was released has got to be, we got to have a scene in the movie where there's a big shootout and all this happens and this agent, this chemical biological agent is somehow released. We got to get to that. And we will in the second half hour. Hey, stick with me if you want to keep writing this. Maybe you got some ideas. And if we put this thing together, hey, we can make ourselves $1 million. We can then run for president. Maybe we can then, well, you know what? I don't want to fight in that Coliseum that Slats is making. So I think I'll stick to my day job. But anyway, maybe some of you out there want to have aspirations of the presidency. We got to make money. Can't do it without it, man. And do you want to be one of those guys like Bernie Sanders and all these people go begging for money? Please donate to my campaign. Hey, you got to like billionaires, right? Hey, I'm spending $2 billion on this. Hell with you guys. I don't need your money. Then when I get in, I'm going to do what the hell I want. Is that democracy? Is that a republic? Hell no. Back in 3 minutes on the investigative journal, writing our great mystery novel about the Wuhan virus.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This ain't happening.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from the Redwood border to the New York Highlands. Whoa, back on the investigative journal from the New York border to the Gulf Stream waters. Did you ever? Sorry, I didn't realize I was on the air. I'm having so much fun here writing this mystery novel. Did you ever just start singing, when you're thinking and you're doing stuff and it just comes out and then the song stays with you forever? Well, this one's staying with me because there's a new movie coming out. Greg Anthony here on the Investigative Journal, and I can't wait to get back to this mystery novel about the coronavirus. That's when you know you can really write something great, right? You really feel excited. You can't wait to get back to this show. You can't wait to talk. You can't wait to get this thing going. Well, anyway, This Land is Your Land. That's the song that's related to the Call of the Wild. You know, the movie. You've seen it before, but Harrison Ford's making a remake of it. And I've watched the trailers, and I really want to see it because I love thinking about that. I love thinking it's all about being free, being an old man living in a little cabin in Alaska, not worried about all the BS we have to go through here. So I'm going to go see Call of the Wild, see how they did it. And they have a different dog in this movie. I wish my Malamute, Max, he passed away 2 years ago, who was a movie star. If you don't know, yep, Max was a movie star. Man, I would have put him up for that. He'd have been, he's a little old. I don't think he could do the running, but he was perfect for that movie. And he was in a couple. Not Call of the Wild, but others. But let's get back to our mystery novel, as I know everybody's really thinking about, how can we make money off the coronavirus? Which isn't really the coronavirus in our story here. But we have to go back to the large scale. We got to now build a reason for why this is not the coronavirus. And the reason is, that there's been large-scale anti-government protests erupting in Hong Kong. Millions of people fighting against the National Communist Party. And this is a grave threat to the stability of the motherland, China. And the U.S. would not like that because we would run out of all these gadgets. So they got to work together, to keep making sure that China comes into America. We've given away China. That's the biggest story known to man. That all our politicians, Bloomberg's made all his money out of China. I mean, we've been talking about this for years, and we can use this in our novel. Why are these politicians, all of them, selling out to China, selling us out to China? Because they want us to be fascist in the end. We could put that in the book. And by the way, when this thing on Trump's response in the beginning to the coronavirus, he said, President Xi's a good man. He's handling everything really well. I said, okay, Donald. Good job. He's handling everything really well. We could put that in the book. But anyway, now the U.S., in this book, we got to know that the governments of China and America and the EU, they all know what they're doing. And we have the EU, the Chinese, they're working secretly with all these dissidents, the people they're putting in internment camps. These are what you're hearing in the news, so we got a good basis of fact, but fiction. And fiction is really better than facts. Who needs them? You see it every day. Who needs facts? Our government, our leaders, our Protestant pastors, our people in the Catholic Church, they don't need facts. They don't care about facts, do they? When we talk about the Vatican-led New World Order, hell, they don't care who killed Lincoln. They don't care if it was the Jesuit order. Hell no, they're great people. Put your kid in Georgetown University. The U.S. government and the EU in our book knows what the Chinese are secretly working on, a biological agent that's supposed to make the protesters docile and obedient. Yeah, stun them, And they're working on this because they can't control millions. There's 1 billion Chinese people, and if they don't like us. Oh, did you hear what Bloomberg said? Oh, this is great. He makes all his money in China, and he did an interview and was asked and said that the Chinese dictator is really not a dictator because he has to deal with his constituents, and if his constituents don't like him, they're going to have a problem. Well, then he said, no, he's not a dictator. Well, what the hell is he? Well, in our book, you see, we can put that in, and then we can say they are secretly in that lab near Wuhan, right? Which is really there. That's the big biological lab where they're trying to make the secret biological agent that will make these protesters docile and obedient. Now, our man, without going into detail yet, right? Our main character, this Chinese, let's give him a name. We can't, I don't know, we can think of a name. That's not important right now, because we're just putting together the outline. Okay. They always told me, do an outline before you do your screenplay or your book. Okay. Without going into, I never liked it anyway, that idea, but we're doing it here on the air to get some interest, to see if you like my idea. Without going into details, so we won't, this guy worked on this project. So he knows all about it. He was one of these intelligence officers that was also involved in trying to keep this secret. And so they were, let's see, what could we say? Well, they were trying to develop some sort of spray, like that comes out of an aerosol can. And they could disperse it from helicopters or drones, yeah. And that would lead to mental retardation and behavioral change. Wouldn't this be great? Naturally. Hong Kong is one of the most open and international cities in the world. The party decided that it was too risky to release the agent in Hong Kong without first testing it. We can't just go there and destroy Hong Kong. They don't know what's going to happen. And they needed a great number of human guinea pigs. And so our man, who's really an inside guy here, knows that they picked, who did they pick? they picked a great number of guinea pigs. Okay, they didn't pick pigs. They had to pick human beings. So there were two groups identified. First, they identified who? The Islamic radicals in Yingping, or whatever that is, Yingjiang province, and then took them to training camps. Ooh, I think that's what they did anyway, right? So that's kind of factual. And he had already been using these camps for human experimentation for several years. Yeah, so we go back, they've been doing it. But Hong Kong protests meant that they had to double up their efforts, double down. And they exposed these inmates there to alpha experiment agents, and they were odorless and invisible, and the subjects were not aware that they were taking part in any kind of medical trials. Okay, wow, this is getting good. Isn't it really? This is fun. I don't know how you guys like to write, but I'm sitting here, you probably wonder what I do when I do these things. Is I got a little computer here. I got my cup of coffee. My dogs are in the background. And if they start barking, I don't really give a damn. People are then going to, I got one listener all the time, and I've been doing this for 20 years, right? One said, "Do you still have the parrot?" Because my parrot used to be on the show sometimes, and I said no. And then I went through all the dogs I've had. When, it hasn't been many, because most of them stay with me a long time. Because I speak their language, folks. I really do. People laugh, but I really speak the language of dogs. And it's much better than English. I'll tell you that. They never fail you. Undying love. And where can you find that anymore in this world? Huh? They're looking at me now going, "Can I eat, please? Enough talking." But anyway, I've got this one guy. He'd say, "I would never listen to him. He's not professional. He's got dogs barking in the background." And I said, "Get over it. Just don't listen. Come on. We got 9 million professional journalists now all over the internet. Everybody wants to." And, isn't it funny? You look at these YouTubes and you look at everybody tries to get so slick. Like, who cares? You're just sitting in your, I know it's, what you're doing is making up all this stuff. You're sitting at your house in your underwear, You're no different than me. Don't think you're professional. And actually, I was a professional, Really, I was a professional journalist. Now look at it. Everybody is. You stole my job. But anyway, let's get back to the movie. Let's get back to what we're writing. We're going to make a fortune on this. But these camps, okay. So because of these Islamic radicals that they're imprisoning in China, and the Americans know, but they won't do anything, it kind of reminds me of what Eisenhower and what we did during World War II with the Jews and Poland. We knew Hitler was going to attack, but we didn't do anything. We had to let him kill everybody, and then we got in late to save the day, kind of like the cavalry, What a bunch of horse crap. That was an orchestrated war. We knew about Pearl Harbor happening. FDR knew. I mean, let's get over this idea. Look at what they did to Poland, my country. My relatives, half of them were killed, and that's a true story. What? I'm a full-blooded Pole. Don't get me started, on these Polish jokes. I could not believe that Americans, what? I started to when I grew up, that's all you heard. Polish joke. Polish people are stupid, blah, blah, blah. Then I looked into it, and I said, you know what? I'm not laughing at myself anymore. People always said, well, laugh at yourself. Hell with it. So I started to laugh at everybody else. You think we're so stupid? What about Chopin? What about Copernicus? And then I started thinking, the joke's on you, because Copernicus, he's Polish, he decided the world is round, and it really isn't. I'm going to fool these people. So if you're going to base your idea that the world is a sphere spinning around, you're doing it, it's a Polish joke that Copernicus did. So there you have it. Back to you see, this is what happens. When you really are writing something you love, you just go off in different tangents, and it's really good. Do you ever sit there and write something you hate? Oh, my goodness. It's the worst. You get hired to do something you hate. Oh, my God. I'd rather pull my toenails out with a pair of pliers But first, now we're back. So they've rounded up, and they really have rounded up all these Islamic radicals, and they put them in this training camp. And they've been using these camps. I think I said this, but we got to go over it for years and years. And they've been experimenting already with these people. So this is a good story for our book here, and or our screenplay, or a short story. Now the high rates. When they were doing this for years, there were high rates of cancer, premature dementia, suicidal depression. God, it sounds like a lot of people in America who have been getting fentanyl from China. Yeah, that's where all this fentanyl's coming. That's the opioid crisis, killing 100,000 Americans a year. I don't know the exact amount. And we're not dealing with China? I mean, really? So we can put this in our book, too. The resulting rates of cancer, premature dementia, this is going on in China now in our book, and the death by organ failure could easily be suppressed, as the camps are located in very remote parts of China. Nobody knows they're there, but the CIA knows. And the Vatican knows. The Jesuits know, because they've been in China since the 16th century. They used to be confessors to the Chinese leadership back then, the kings. Interesting. Once the initial experiments had yielded a beta agent, this is real technical stuff, I've just thought about this. It was transported to the Hubei province, where it was deployed in special military testing facility outside of Wuhan. There is a testing facility there, so they couldn't do they had to really get this thing perfected. This was not a well-kept secret, though. We got to make that known. This facility has been reported even in the international news. Even the fact that it is located close to the wild animal market is a known fact, so it makes sense, right? We're dealing here with fact and fiction. We're going to make $1 million on this. But anyway, so we got them doing this crazy thing in this laboratory. Now that fits with what Senator Tom Cotton said. We got to find out what was going on in that laboratory. That was on the news the other day. So we're not, it's pretty interesting. Now, during that time, what was China doing also? We got to bring some background here. They were introducing this social credit system that allows the Chinese government to identify disloyal, counter-revolutionary bourgeoisie elements in their society using a social credit score. I think that's coming to the nearest Walmart soon, which are taken from online activity, electronic shopping behavior, reports from informers in the civil society. We selected some of our worst offenders, says our military man in China. Well, what happens in China now comes here. So we can really, this is going to be good. These included human rights lawyers and activists in China. They want to get rid of them, so they had to check them out with this social credit system. Christians, you can't have a Bible there. Homosexuals, they throw them off buildings. Artists, intellectuals, they don't want anything but obedient citizens. People who speak foreign languages and other undesirables. Now you know why our government officials like China and are selling out to China, because they want exactly the same thing here. What a way they can get what they want. They don't have to deal with elections and all this crap they deal with here. Ask Bloomberg. He doesn't deal with it. He just buys his way in. Once these troublemakers, and in our book here, been collected and placed in testing facilities, our agent then tells us, our Secret Service Chinese agent tells us they expose them to the agent, this biological thing that's going to replace the coronavirus, because that's just a front, which is a biochemical in nature and spread in an invisible aerosol, like I said, kind of like, aerosol cans, akin to certain viruses. Initial results were very encouraging, he says, and there was significant decline in cognitive thinking and reduction in these mental processes of our original guinea pigs, right? Wow, interesting. So now we got this set up. So we haven't told people yet, exactly what it is, right? It's very much of a mystery. Our agent is kept secret. And we're going to have to put a couple chapters in there about his living conditions, how he got this information, basically through why he decided to go public, a personal story too. We're going to put that in. I'm just giving you kind of an outline here. Maybe you guys can help with that. But essentially, our undesirables in our book were becoming mildly mentally disabled, precisely the effect that they wanted to produce in order to pacify the restive population of Hong Kong. Now, let's think about this. It's a fantasy, it's a fictional book we're writing, but could they, would they want to do that? Would the Chinese really want to do that? Well, we know in America they have crowd dispersal microwave weaponry they use to disperse crowds, to make them docile to do things. And the military here is always experimenting, and the CIA with that kind of stuff. Look at MK Ultra. Look at all the experiments they did on children and all these Catholic orphanages that we've done stories on, where they took these kids and the nuns said they were insane, put them in an orphanage, and then they were doing experiments. That was Ian Cameron, the Nazi doctor, or whatever he was working on that stuff. Ian Cameron in Canada under the auspices and control of the CIA. We've done stories on that, and that is true. Yes. But back to our book. So it's really pretty good here because we can tie this to really what was going on in Hong Kong, right, and what's still going on. And I'm looking here at a picture of them dispersing all these chemicals. So our agent's going to say, but it became aware that they were just doing testing, so they didn't know. So we're going to have to make this kind of bloody, because there's always got to be a bloody scene. Who's going to watch this if there isn't really, something bloody? And, also, go to Netflix, because it was even mentioned on the Dana Perina show on Fox yesterday. She said, I watched this is an 8-part series on a pandemic about a flu virus that goes out of control. Why did they do that? I mean, they didn't put that together after the Wuhan virus, supposedly. They put it together before, so I think they knew. Go to Netflix. It's called Pandemic. But, see, that's not the truth, though, in our book. It's not a flu. It's not a virus. It's something more. And about 1 week after they started giving our Secret Service agent is telling us, about 1 week after they start giving this aerosol out, the subjects developed major anxiety, panic attacks, almost like people that wanted to get out of a cage. And eventually, then our main character is going to tell us they develop symptoms akin to those of paranoid schizophrenics. And then at one point, their bodies started to deteriorate. They developed massive internal bleeding. This is where the blood comes out, so we can sell this. Their bodies rapidly began to deteriorate. They developed massive internal bleeding. The walls of their arteries dissolved. They bled out of their eyes and orifices, and their tissue disintegrated. In fact, basically, they just started to melt. Now, death usually occurred through multiple organ failures. Okay, this is where we get really good. This was preceded by 5 days of severe agony. There's a lot of people that are dead in China. Did you see those pictures? They showed them in body bags and everything. Maybe. But anyway, this is just a fictional story. Don't worry about it. But, and painkillers couldn't even alleviate this. We've got to get really graphic on how we show this stuff. Show these people in their beds and how they were experimenting on these guinea pigs. And in our character here, there was an elderly lady who had published defamatory cartoons about the president of China. Okay, we got to get serious here. Because Trump said President Xi's a good guy, but we're going to show in our book he's really not. Okay, and Trump really knows what's going on. Maybe we'll get into that. I don't know if we can sell it if we do that, but they can always edit. But anyway, defamatory cartoons about the president. Our main character meets her, and she begged him for to kill her with such instance that I took pity and he shot her. Yes. We can change it if you want, but I like it. I was reprimanded. This was the man. For fortunately, the complaint was dropped when he agreed to reimburse the cost of the bullet. Wow. We got to have some fun with this movie. He swore in the movie, he told his authorities, I'll never show any emotions anymore. Never show any emotions. Now, we're going to leave it here, and if you want me to do the rest of the book tomorrow, I will. I'll do some more if you want me to. How's that? But I only have a minute. But let's leave it here that this biological agent they created was usable. But I'm changing that. They decided it was unusable. It was too destructive, so they had to start over again. And they wanted to, the population of Hong Kong and these dissidents to submit, but they didn't want to exterminate them. Guess what? How then are we going to show that it was released? Oh, that's going to be the best part of the book. So come back tomorrow, and I'll see if I can think up or find a solution, because they decided in our book that this is too dangerous. But how did it get released? That's a big question. And why did they use the coronavirus as a front to tell the world that? And the CIA knows that. If the CIA knows that, then Trump knows it. Everybody knows it in our book. But we'll be back tomorrow on the Investigative Journal. Back tomorrow.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.